So hi guys, welcome to RPA Gayan Guru session 5. And before I start, let me just brief you a little bit about RPA Gayan Guru. This is basically a webinar series, and yeah, we'll be sharing this session later on YouTube as well. So this session is all about discussing the topics of RPA with experts in our industry, and we believe let's talk about RPA. Let's talk about with real people, real stories, and what their journeys are. I'm Abhinav Sabarwal. I'm an entrepreneur, and I basically look after School of RPA, which is into RPA training. So we do kind of training on things like Prism and UI path, etc. Today's first speaker is Satyaprakash Pandey. He's associate director at Deloitte, and he will be talking about emerging trends in RPA. Later on, we'll be joined by Nishant Shetty, who's co-founder of CloudTrack. So with this, Satyaprakash, I'm giving you the control, and yeah, you can start sharing your screen, sir.
Yes. Okay, so I've shared my screen, and hopefully you people are able to see that. Let me just try putting it. Okay. So Abhinav, thanks for inviting me. First of all, hopefully you are all able to see the screen, which comes not on full size, but I'm hoping it shows the right content.
Yeah,
So
it is
yeah.
visible, Prof.
Yeah, and just a small correction. So I'm giving the lecture on creating the center of excellence and not on emerging trends. So I'm hoping I've put in the right content for the audiences. Uh, I'll start with a brief intro of myself. So my name is Satyaprakash Pandey. People call me Satya generally. And I have around 15 years of experience in this industry. Um I have started my career with Infosys, then worked for Deloitte in India, then Deloitte in the UK and Germany. And I've also associated with KPMG in the UK, EY in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And then last year, I shifted back to India, working for Deloitte in India as an associate director. So I have a lot of experience in this field of consulting. So my skill sets are in the areas of M&A advisory, IT in M&A, post-merger integrations, then separations of companies, technology consulting, risk and cybersecurity, sales consulting, and similar other fields of consulting where we are looking to solve business problems for the companies. Uh, I have worked over these years for a lot of clients, and I put in some selective clients of where I have worked, including in the financial services. So some of the key and top banks like Barclays Bank, HSBC, some of the insurance clients like Generali, NFU Mutual, Lloyd's of London. And in the corporates, I have worked for logistics, for car parking operators, for energy operators, for manufacturing, healthcare. So a lot of variety of experiences which I've come across through this whole journey of 15 years. I have also been involved in the operational improvement of the portfolio companies of a lot of private equities globally. So that is also quite comprehensive experiences I've brought in. In terms of education, I completed my education from Cranfield School of Management. I completed my MBA from Cranfield School of Management in the UK, and before that, I had my engineering from the VNIT College in Nagpur. And then I've done a lot of industry certifications, which has been useful in my career. So this is a brief about me, which I thought will be helpful to the audience before I begin. Um, uh, I will start with the brief agenda of what I'm covering. I'm not sure why it doesn't show, so I'll go in the small mode so at least people can see the full content. So in this topic today, I will be covering the Center of Excellence vision and principles for the setting up a delivery framework for RPA. Then we will also discuss the delivery model options for RPA. We'll discuss the operating model of what the Center of Excellence should look like, what kind of organization we need to build while delivering the RPA deliveries through this Center of Excellence. And then briefly we'll touch upon what kind of governance meetings and then how regularly these kind of cadences should take place and in between which stakeholders to successfully deliver the RPA contents. Then I'll briefly touch upon some of the recent cases I've seen across the industries, and then I should be able to take up any questions on this topic. So to start with on the RPA COE vision. Uh, Before that, I briefly wanted to touch upon the background and context of the RPA, what RPA is, which is, I believe, in the series of 5 lectures, what you have done so far. You have already completed some of these, but for the benefit of some of the listeners who might be hearing on this topic for the first time, I think it is important that they get to know about what exactly this is all about, and then I'll start with the Center of Excellences. So to begin on a quick background of what RPA is, the key thing is to understand that a lot of material portion of the businesses are comprised of highly manual work, which requires significant resources to deliver. Now, this makes it a very high cost model and starts putting increasing pressures on the operating margins. And hence, the competitive marketplace is increasingly looking to digitize and automate the capabilities, which should reduce the cost to serve while improving efficiency. So all this is bringing in some of the recent advancements in technology, which is where RPA comes into picture. Uh, so what is RPA? RPA are computer configured softwares, programs that replaces humans performing repetitive rule-based tasks. And similar to what some of the cross-functional and cross-application macros may be doing. So it's mimicking some of the human actions through computer generated configured software, and which can do a lot of repetitive tasks. In terms of then building up an RPA framework of actually how this will be delivered, it is important to understand what are the key modules which are required to deliver the RPA before going deep into the Center of Excellence stuff. So what are the key modules? The key modules are project management and quality assurances, the process assessment, the technical setup required for delivering an RPA, then the actual delivery of the processes, then how do you manage your robotic operations, how do you design your organizational design, and what kind of talent you need to deliver that, what kind of change management you require. And then comes the Center of Excellence, which is required in situations where the scope of an RPA project included is helping the client to set up a central team which would perform many of the activities that will form part of delivering and supporting RPA across in the organization. Uh, and this COE is typical of the Center of Excellences, which has been created as part of some of the shared services of a lot of deliverables, which requires repetitive performances. So that's where we start with the Center of Excellences, and now I can begin with my first slide, which I have put across, explaining why RPA vision is required. So the key to any delivery is to have a vision, principles, and then back it up with the operating model to actually deliver the things. So in order to set up an RPA Center of Excellence, there are some core prerequisites which must be completed to ensure that it is set up with the long term in mind. And hence, it is very important that we have the RPA vision in place. And when we say an RPA vision, it is actually asking and some of the strategic questions and then seeking the required answers for these questions. And so what are the objectives? So number one is, what are the objectives for the RPA? So it's just not that we are doing RPA for the sake of doing an RPA, but there should be some defined objectives, both for the business and also for the delivery organization, that we are very clear as to this is the end goal which we are looking to achieve using the methodology of RPA. Second is, what are the values? Values in any organization is very important. Be it a small company, be it a large company, and as the companies grow in size, they are keen to make sure that their values are intact. So defining the key values of how the whole organization and the delivery of the RPA will happen becomes very important. Third is, what kind of organization are we looking to build for our practitioners? Again, this sounds like a bit of cliche, but any organization, until we know the sole purpose of having this organization, it becomes difficult to sustain it in the longer run. So we need to answer this question also very carefully. The fourth question is, which business areas should we prioritize and why? So again, I've been listening to some of the earlier webinars, and then some of the business areas where RPA has been in function are in areas like finance, like in the IT, in HR. So because these functions have business requirements to be fulfilled by the RPA. So it is very important that the business functions prioritize what exactly they are looking to seek from the RPA methodologies. Number five is, what are the service offerings? So when we are looking to deliver RPA, it is just not about delivering RPA, but knowing exactly these are the service offerings X, Y, and Z that we are looking to deliver. And then the last is, how do we see things changing over time? So defining the long-term operational plan, and syncing in with any of the technology changes in terms of robotics, in terms of cognitive automation, in terms of artificial intelligence, and then grasping in all the new technologies which will be evolved during the process. And these days, the shelf life of any technology is very less. So it is very important that the business and also the technology is in sync with the overall development. So these are some of the topics which define what a vision of a center of excellence should be, which then leads to the second topic about the COE principles. So vision and principles again go tandem with each other, and should be worked upon as the first steps towards setting up the Center of Excellences. Now, there are a number of key principles which should underpin any RPA Center of Excellence setup. And what are these principles? So, as I said, there should be a long-term vision and strategy, which is the first and foremost step, which we just discussed. Second is then there should be a solid communication planning in the Center of Excellence, which again is a critical for success of RPA. Now, this solid communication requires a robust approach, planning and delivery of communications to all these stakeholders, without which this whole venture of creating an organization, creating a center of excellence of delivery will fail, because we are looking to provide our services as a center of excellence provider to a wider range of people which may be working globally. So it is required that there is a solid communication which goes across the entire setup of the organization. Then, as I said, any center of excellence should be set up with technology changes, strategy in mind, other forms of automation, rather than just focusing on RPA. So it is important that if, let's say, there is a complementary technology which can also be delivered or should also be considered while delivering RPA, then that also becomes a focus of this center of excellence. Number three is involving all the key stakeholders, which is all the key functions required to delivery of the RPA deliverables, and while creating these center of excellences. So what are these functions? Which is IT, HR, risk, and then there can be more such functions. All the business teams, they should be thoroughly involved while creating the center of excellences. Um, as the number four is decentralizing the center of operations, which will help to remove the bureaucracy and some of the roadblocks as the complexity of the organization increases. So again, this is a topic which we will be discussing later in the delivery section of the RPA as well. But it becomes very important that you are flexible, you are nimble, and you look to change your methodology, decentralize your RPA setup if required in future. The fifth, and again one of the most important topic, is to have the roles and responsibilities clearly defined for all the people working in the RPA Center of Excellences, which again, if not done properly, will lead to chaos in any of the organizations. So it's again typical of setting up any shared services, any Center of Excellences, which requires the roles and responsibilities to be thoroughly defined. And then the last and the most important topic in this is that the RPA Center of Excellence should have a C-suite sponsorship to champion the cause of the RPA, without which it then becomes difficult to get the buy-ins from all the stakeholders. So the first slide I put across, and then the second slide's vision and principles are the basis of any center of excellences, and RPA is one of those wherein vision and principles will define how to go ahead and delivery about the delivery of the RPA deliverables. Now I move to the third slide, which is how what are the different delivery model options possible for the delivery of RPA through the Center of Excellences. So as you can see in the screen, there are three options possible. Typically, these are the options through which most of the organizations have started to deliver their RPA contents. So one is the centralized method, another is the hybrid method, and the third one is the decentralized method. So each of these methods have their nuances, advantages, and disadvantages, which should be clearly understood depending on which and depending on the type of organization we are working, then we can define what is the right delivery model option which works for my organization. So let's go on these one by one. For any centralized RPA, Center of Excellences, the key to understand is that the RPA is owned by a central team, and this central team then controls the RPA strategy. It controls the vendor selection and governance. The opportunities are driven, identified, assessed, and prioritized by the central team. And then this central team also controls the development and manages deployment, support, and maintenance of any RPA deliverables. So that's the whole essence of the centralized delivery model option. When we speak about the hybrid delivery model option, then some of the central activities like building up the RPA strategy, governance, vendor selection, methodology, and quality assurances are held by the RPA Center of Excellences. But then there are a lot of devolved activities like the RPA identification, assessment, and prioritization, capability decisions, which are made locally by the business units. And then they have their own, each of the business units have their own center of excellences, which make these kind of decisions, which is sometimes also called RPA factory, which is required to identify, design, build, and deploy the robots for the RPA delivery in each of these business functions. So that's the subtle difference in decentralized and hybrid. And when we talk about the decentralized delivery model option, then this is simply that each business unit has their own RPA capability, which then they refer for the RPA standard. So they don't have a central place or a central organization which may refer to the for any of the standards. The key to understand is RPA in any of the decentralized function is not owned by one part of the business. So each of the business units can see their potential, and then based on the potential on their side, they can decide what to do or what not to do. So they can select whatever solutions they wish, how to implement, how to support, maintain with the third parties, or by building capabilities themselves. So these are the three different delivery model options. And as I said before, it is also important that we understand the advantages and disadvantages of each of these delivery model options before we actually proceed ahead in starting of creation of a center of excellence. So in terms of centralized delivery model, the advantages is having a clear strategy for the whole enterprise. So because there is only one team which makes the strategy, it is easier then to implement those strategies across the organization, across different business units. They can also then help prioritize the RPA for whole organization. So rather than businesses saying this is priority for me, the center of excellences can take those decisions, which then makes it easier and streamlined to actually implement these solutions. This also then helps in maximizing efficiency and minimizing duplication. But this also comes up with a certain disadvantages that some of the businesses may not want to take the ownership for this. And also some of the subject matter experts, which may lie in some of the businesses or business units, those kind of specific inputs which is required to understand what exactly is the need of a particular business, that may be lacking. So these kind of disadvantages, the sustainability of the solution, and then the solutions, the SMEs in the individual areas may not be optimum. These kind of disadvantages lie with decentralized operations. When we speak about the hybrid organization, uh, so this is the model which tries to take the best of both worlds of centralized and decentralized, and hence it balances the local ownership, but at the same time, the prioritization and drive of the initiatives are held by the central team. This also tries to achieve economies of scale by repeat work through this model. But the key disadvantage is that the ownership level or the enterprise-wide prioritization of the central model is not achieved through this. So sometimes this may lead to neither here nor there, and hence some of the organizations may look to avoid this. Now, the third option advantage is having a strong ownership in the business. So any decentralized functions, because the business units have a lot of power, and they have their own. Sometimes they have their own chief operating officers, chief executive officers. So they can implement the laws of RPA in their own business units, and make these solutions optimal for the business area and aligned to their needs. But then the disadvantages may be a lacking consistency of RPA solutions across the organization. So some of the RPA which I'm delivering, let's say in a banking division of my company, may not be implemented in the insurance division of my company, while it's the same organization. So the lack of consistency, the lack of progress in some of the areas, there may be overlap in capabilities. So the same team which is working, let's say for a banking division, the insurance divisions may have also hired and build a similar capability with some overcapacity. And in terms of in times like COVID, people understand that any overcapacity, that's the first area where people go and trim the businesses. So these are very important to understand. Then the lessons learned may not be shared, and then there may be a lower ROI opportunities, or if let's say some of the non-priority items are delivered first. So the key again to understand the delivery model options of centralized, hybrid, and decentralized models is that each of these may have different nuances, may have different methods and of how this will be delivered. They have certain advantages and disadvantages, which should be understood in quite detail before the any of the decision on any of the uh, methods is taken. Uh, Now this brings to the COE operating model of what operating model is actually good for my organization. And then how do I actually look to operate in future, or once we have built this whole system. So an RPA operating model typically comprises of involving the business functions, which can be the product businesses, the procurement businesses, the finance and accounting businesses, and then also some of the teams like IT, risk, HR. Then there is this whole bracket of the RPA COE, which comprises of various modules like the change management team, the tools and tech infrastructure team, the governance team, the benefits and demand planning team, the delivery and QA team, and then the workforce strategy team. So this whole section in the middle is the center of excellence, and then there is another team which monitors the whole RPA life cycle. Uh, and the whole RPA life cycle comprises of the opportunity identification, opportunity quantification, prioritization, then the design and development based on the opportunities identified and quantified and prioritized, which is then deployed. And then once the RPA has been deployed in any of the client side or in any of the organizations, then there is whole process of managing the robotics processes, and continuously monitoring them. and then further going on to optimize the whole RPA solutions, and then further tracking the benefits realization of if at all the RPA is creating a success to the businesses. So these operating model can only work if they work in tandem, if there is interaction in the business functions, in the center of excellences, and the whole life cycle is tracked properly and consulted by in between the businesses and the center of excellences. So while creating this operating model, it becomes important then to understand the whole methodologies of the key components, uh, which should be understood in quite detail as to what these different components are, and then in what phases, what kind of involvement is required from each of these components. So the key components, the change management, it is important that there is a vision and strategy of change. There is a communications approach. We have understood how to design the culture of the change. So any RPA at times can come as a very overbearing for some of the business functions. So it becomes important that it is properly communicated. The whole culture of RPA is built through by the change leads. And again, I have been hearing to some of the speakers, and they have emphasized on this aspect a lot, that the stakeholders needs to be engaged. There needs to be a communication and training delivery, and then there should be a review of these over a period of time to make sure that all the businesses understand the importance of RPA, and then there is a proper change management to deal with those, which then leads to the second point of how we define the governance for this topic. So what is my governance approach? How do I coordinate with various functions? How do I report the whole RPA tracking progresses? And then how do I manage my dependencies? So all these are important to understand. Then once we have started delivering the RPA, there should be a proper quality management plan and design principles, a robust delivery method, which is quite important when we are implementing any of the RPO solutions. Again, I believe this has been spoken before, that there can be various delivery options possible, like a waterfall delivery of RPA solutions, or an agile delivery, or a hybrid solution. So what delivery solution works best for the organization, and with the lessons learned, with the improvement of quality analysis and delivery tools should be considered. Um, the fourth most important factor in this is the vendor selections of the tools and technical infrastructure. So how, which vendor selections, which vendor to select out of the whole lot of vendors available in the market. So a lot of vendors which are quite known in this space: Blue Prism, UiPath, Pega Systems, Automation, or Anywhere. They have their own pluses and minuses, and some of the services they provide may be fitting well for one part of the business, or one sector of the market, which should be thoroughly discussed while selecting the right vendor, and also the right vendor implementation partners for while implementing the RPA solutions. Then there is whole lot of infrastructure design required to set up a particular RPA solution, and then requiring the hardware and software management software required to implement these solutions. Further into this process, it is important that the vendors are continuously talked through. Any change requests are particularly tracked with the vendors, and then likewise, any infrastructure changes or any changes in the tools and technologies are dealt with properly. The in terms of operating model, the next most important thing is the demand management process, the capacity management process, and then the benefit tracking process. So, which again goes with any of the technologies, that there should be the capacity should be optimized that it meets the demand. And if, let's say, there is an over demand, then the capacity the operating model is flexible and nimble enough to meet those demands, and then there is never an over capacity to deliver things, which then creates a bit of a cost loss, or a loss in the revenue in the longer run. So it's important to have the demand management process and capacity management process, and then tracking the benefits in the long term. And then the last point in the operating model, which is again one of the key and most important, is the people. So what kind of people you are looking to design? How do you define your current state and the target state? Have you covered all the gap analysis? Have you considered all the capabilities and roles of the people? Do you understand the talent strategies required while delivering the solution? And then how do you manage the people transition or the organization model optimization? So in various phases, it is important to understand each of these areas while delivering the operating the RPA through the Center of Excellences. And again, this becomes important because the key to this is that we are looking to build RPA on scale when we talk about Center of Excellences, which can cater to either the main services of the same organization, or to a client which will be then receiving a lot of deliverables in a very short time. So this whole process of understanding how the different businesses interact, and then within the RPA Center of Excellence, is how the actual flow of processes takes place, right from opportunity identification to delivering of the solution, and then continuously managing and tracking the delivery and optimizing the solutions. So this then brings to what kind of organization you are looking to build, and what sort of people you will need to actually run this organization. So typically this comes into three brackets, which is one of the key leads from the business teams should be involved, which is the operating officers of the business units, the senior subject matter experts, the change leads, corporate leads, finance, risk and compliance. So all the business teams should be there. And likewise, the technology teams should be there, which is the applications team, infrastructure team, IT security. So all these key technology functions needs to come together, and both of these needs to then fed into the Center of Excellences, which comprises of a C-suite sponsor, and then you have a relationship manager to manage the relationship with the business teams and the technology teams. There should be a program manager who can actually manage these RPA programs and the portfolio for the delivery of the RPA solutions. There needs to be an RPA scheduler who will actually manage the robots, schedule all the robotics processes, and then make sure that all the processes that are set are set over the right time. And he may also take inputs from the technical architect who will actually create the bots architecture. So provides all the inputs on what kind of architecture, which technology to use, how to build the robots, which of the vendors to be selected, and then this is also overseen by a capability lead who will manage all the RPA deliverables. Under them, then there are project managers, there are business analysts, and there are RPA developers who manage the whole delivery, requirement gathering, then actual development of the solutions, managing of the project plans. So the whole process from opportunity identification to the delivery of the solutions through this set of people comprising of the business teams, the C-suite sponsors, and the technology teams can be delivered. Um the key to this organization again is to understand what they actually need to do. So each of these roles which we have displayed in the previous screen, they should have a defined objective. They should know who are the right people in various forums, and then how frequently they should meet. So typically, an RPA Center of Excellence comprise of different committees, which may comprise of an RPA sponsor group, an RPA change group, an RPA design group, and then an RPA user group. So which is the actual users of the RPA solutions. And each of these have defined objectives and then stakeholders, and then they should meet over a regular period of time to assess the whole delivery and governance, and then make sure that the delivery is happening fine. So for the RPA sponsor, the key is to make sure that the vision, strategy, and guiding principles around RPA is clear before the whole delivery of the RPA starts. Then also the required funding, because most of the times this is a newer technology in the businesses. It may become difficult for the businesses to gain the funding for this initiative. Hence, the RPA sponsor should make sure that the required funding is there, and it is there to the extent that the whole RPA delivery is completed on time without any delay in the whole process. Uh, the RPA sponsor is also required to assess the vendor tools to approve the business cases, and then he holds the business leaders to account in case he sees some of the businesses lacking in championing the RPA cause. So he also acts as an advocate to the RPA across the organization. So this RPA sponsor team should ideally meet twice a week, discussing with various business sponsors, technology sponsors, various business leaders, and make sure that the whole RPA initiative is percolated wide through in the organization. Then the RPA change team manages the change requests for RPA. They also provide the required infrastructure, so any technical know-how, any technology required to be built, any new change program required to actually implement the RPA solutions are provided by the RPA change team. They also manage the security and controls, and then take the programs towards the go live authorizations for the RPA automations, and then tracks the benefits realization plan. The design team designs the whole RPA solution, so they define what methodology and what best practices they should be using. They define the business case, and then manage the whole portfolio of RPA automations, and then further go on to resolve the risks and issues towards then delivering the whole solution, which is a team comprising of the business and IT leads and process analysts and developers, and they should also look to meet every month to track the progress. And sometimes, let's say if they are working on agile model, then they tend to they tend to meet more often through the regular sprints and the regular scrum cycles, which through which they look to operate. And then the last and most important team in this is the RPA user group, who then provides the education and upskilling of the RPA, and then also look to champion the cause of RPA across the organizations. So this is the some of the key governance meetings which needs to be taken care of. So these are all the information which I had put across for the Center of Excellences, which again, to summarize, are the vision and principles, the right operating model, the right organization model, and the right governance meetings to develop a Center of Excellence, which will be useful for delivery of the RPO solutions. where this has been used of late. So a lot of banking clients, a lot of insurance clients are using this for a lot of automation, which is required for a lot of different things, like very simplistic tasks like opening emails and attachments, which becomes a regular feature of for a lot of organizations, logging into web and enterprise applications, moving files and folders, then copying and pasting, filling in forms, reading and writing to databases, scraping the data from the web, connecting system to APIs, making some short calculations, extracting structured data from documents, like a lot of scanning of the contracts happen through the RPA solutions. So these are different use cases for which a lot of companies, a lot of organizations have started to use RPA on scale. And hence the center of excellence of the centralized, hybrid, and decentralized model, depending on what kind of inputs or what kind of services the companies are looking, that becomes very useful. So this is how it all comes all together towards delivering the RPA solution. And the whole intent is that the RPA framework is completed by the center of excellence as one of its main pillars. So Abhinav, that is where I will end for now. I hope the message went across clearly, and I can take up any questions at this moment.
Thank you, Satyaprakash. That was really great. I do have certain questions that I would like to ask.
Yeah,
Like I said, I also in a business of practicing RPA. I teach RPA to students, corporates,
yeah.
and you know. So the thing about COE is, of course, I have come to realize that it is very important. But didn't the RP start with the fact that they were telling the business, hey, you don't need to go to IT, right? You can start the initiative yourself. That is one. And then we have this concept that some vendors are promoting of citizen programmers, right? So what do you think about that? Is that something that is practical, or how would that work?
So the essence of RPA, and again, this is something you have also touched upon in your program, is mimicking the various human actions which are repetitive in nature, which can be done through the computer generated softwares. So yes, these can be done by the IT teams, but if that is to be done on scale, then there needs to be a particular organization which will take care of the of delivering this kind of solution, which is the RPA solution. Now, the difference why an IT team can or cannot pick an RPA. So definitely, the IT team has the capability to deliver the RPA solutions. But then an IT team in an organization also has to take care of a lot of different things. Like they have to maintain all the IT infrastructure. They need to take care of all the IT applications, which is some of the key business critical applications, like your ERP systems, your business systems, like a lot of banking applications, insurance applications, manufacturing applications, and then making sure that all the businesses are running fine and there is no technology blockade during the provision of technology. So there is a lot of work already going on with the technology teams, and I work with a lot of CIOs, so I know how stressed they are in doing some work which is their regular day jobs. What I've seen over the years is that the RPSCOE is branched out of the IT organizations as a separate function, which is also then championed by one of the key IT stakeholders, like the CIO or the head of IT, with their presence there. But then the RPA is led by a different leader. So they have the rules, and the whole roles is well defined. and then there is no interference while delivering the RPO solutions. And also because there are times when the RPA has to work with a lot of vendors like Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, etc. So which an IT team may not be looking to touch directly. So it becomes then easier to go through the Center of Excellence or through an RPA team, and hence there may be a different team. But again, to answer the question, it can be done by an IT team as well, depending on what the organization is looking to achieve. There may or may not be possibilities of an IT team leading the RPA initiative. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does, Satya. Thank you. Another question that I have is, you described these three types of COEs. You have centralized, decentralized, and hybrid.
Yeah,
So I want to know that for a very large organization, let us say, financial organizations, specifically banks, which
yeah.
are present in many countries, they work across many geographies by their very nature, what kind of COE works best for these kind of, very large organizations, especially financial ones?
So again, it depends on what exactly the whole purpose of RPA is. So I've worked with one of the global retail banks, and they had this model of what I previously spoke. The Center of Excellence was reporting into the CIO and also the transformation teams, and it worked for them because they were looking for centralization of standards, control, and delivery while delivering the RPA. They were also looking for the centralization of all the delivery and management of the vendor solutions. So let's say one business unit is buying from Blue Prism, another one is buying from UiPath. That doesn't happen. So there is one team which manages the whole vendor cycle, and then there was also a strong relationship with IT. So all this worked for this case of the global retail bank. What didn't work in this model was that there was a lot of underskilling of the Center of Excellences because the business units were not involved. There was a lack of skilled portfolio lead from the business unit teams, and then there was some confusion around the roles and responsibilities between the Center of Excellences and uh, the business unit teams. So for this particular retail bank, which I worked, the model sort of worked in that sense. But then I also worked in another of the UK banks, wherein a hybrid model was used, and that worked for them. So again, typically the key aspects to those was the responsibility of communication culture was in the business unit level, so they could pass on the message of RPA very clearly onto their teams. And at the same time, any standardization, they could go to the Center of Excellences, which was central based. So I mean, again, there is no right and wrong answer on for this, and depending on what exactly is the whole purpose of delivering the solution, the whole the delivery model options can be devised. But for like the scenario which you have said, for large banks or large organizations, the decentralized options will work best, because then they can define what exactly the requirement of their business unit is, and then they can also take some fast-paced actions which may be lacking in, let's say, in a centralized model.
Thanks, Satya. That was, very enlightening. Yes, but like I said, I also actually worked with some of the banks with consult, and I was consulting them. So,
Yeah,
do you think a culture of the organization somewhere also has an impact on COE? Like, I'll give an example. Say a centralized bank, like you said, a bank which wants a uniformity across all the regions, right? Not
yeah.
only probably in RPA, but also on the way they work, their SOPs and everything. But whereas when we see in real world, the culture has a great impact. How we work. So the culture of Asia Pacific may be very different from North America, which might be very different from Japan. right? So will that kind of a thing have any impact on how the COE model get chosen?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very good question actually. And again, I when I spoke in my lecture, I also spoke about the shared services, which is typically of these kind of center of excellences, and center of excellences may be a global team. So there is a center of excellence team which is delivering the solutions to a variety of people in the organization across the globe, but they may be placed globally in various cities and countries of the world. So definitely the culture makes then a very, very important aspect of how this is delivered. And you have also rightly pointed out, let's say people in Singapore or in the Asia side of the world, the whole tendency is to provide the clients or provide the stakeholders with their deliverable, which is fast and iterative, which then they can be worked upon by other teams. Whereas, let's say if you work in some of the European teams, then the whole idea, let's say a German client is more keen on getting the final product, because they are looking for accuracy, they're looking for fineness, they're looking for the whole quality aspect of the deliverables are taken given a lot of importance. So then there, if you provide an iterative kind of draft, which may not be complete at that stage, may not work for somebody sitting in Germany. And again, when let's say you're speaking to somebody in the US, then it's whole about how you actually communicate the thing to them, because they are less concerned about what my product looks like, but it's more how and what it does for me, which is best communicated to them. So likewise, when you are devising a center of excellence for an RPA delivery, um, having an understanding of which people you're working, what kind of culture you have in that sort of the world, becomes very, very important in delivering the RPO solutions, and also then making an understanding of what are the different rules and laws of particular countries. So some of the countries may have an 8-hour work schedule. Some of the countries like Norway, Sweden, they are only a 6-hour work schedule, and hence you will have to be a bit of show a bit of flexibility. People in Asia, like in Singapore, they work around the clock, so they don't care if I'm having my dinner and still I have to work. They will do that. So you have to have that kind of understanding and flexibility while delivering these solutions, and then managing your teams accordingly. So hopefully, again, I answered your question.
Thank you, Satyaprakash. I will now ask remaining audience. I see fewer people, more people have joined us. If they have any questions, guys, if you have any questions, just unmute your mic and feel free to ask. Thank you.
Looks like there is no question left.
More questions, yeah. All right, Satya, thank you for joining us today and sharing your valuable time with us. It was a great session and we all learned a lot. So uh, I think yeah, that's it. Thank you, Satya.
Thanks, Abhinav. And again, the audience has been great, and you, as the lead of this whole initiative, I must thank you for creating this awareness on RPA. So, and again, I look forward in future to be associated with any of your causes. So please do invite me if you need any support. And once the lockdown gets over, I will definitely make a point to come and see you in person. So, thanks for having me here. Thanks a lot.
Sure, Satya. Same here. Thank you. Uh,
Thank
okay. We have some. All right. Uh, so okay, guys. Yeah. we had another session today, by Nishant Shetty. I'm not very sure. So let us just wait for a minute and two to see if he's coming, or otherwise, then we can kind of conclude our sessions today. I would also like to get some kind of a feedback from you as to how you find the sessions and everything. So just let us know in the chat window how your experience was, and if you would like to, uh, you know, uh, attend more sessions going forward. Thank you guys. You have been a great audience. All right, guys. I think we'll be concluding today's session here only. I'll keep you all informed about. Maybe in future we'll do Nishant Shetty's session. So thank you guys and have a great weekend ahead. Bye.